Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today is Thursday, August 6th, 2020, and we are continuing on with our review of the book, People of the Lie, The Hope for Healing Human Evil. Welcome to the show. We will get started here shortly. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let me know if you're in the room, please. Let me know if my sound is okay and if you can see my screen, and we will get started shortly. Thank you so much. We are moving on with our review series of the book, People of the Lie, The Hope for Healing Human Evil. Welcome, everybody, to the chat and to the show. So why don't we go ahead and get right into it with a few disclaimers, okay? So the very first disclaimer that I would like to give, and for those of you who plan on attending each one of these series, I will be doing many of these disclaimers each show, so apologies in advance, but keep in mind that there are people who come to watch who are new. So it'll be their first time seeing it, so that's why I'll do it over and over. But this review series does indeed deal with evil and spirituality and God, okay? If you're atheistic, you don't believe in any of those things, then I understand this may not be the series for you. However, you are more than invited and more than welcome to stay. Next, and especially with this episode and the whole book really has a lot of heavy psychological content and can be particularly triggering for some people, okay? So please know that in advance. And I might actually pause the show and do another disclaimer about halfway through for people who join later who don't know what they're getting ready to walk into, okay? So know that it has the potential to be psychologically triggering, especially this episode, okay? Next, this episode in particular is going to deal with the topic of suicide, okay? I didn't even monetize the stream because YouTube does not play about that topic, all right? So know that we will talk about and touch on this topic heavily in this episode. So I really want to make sure you guys are aware of that ahead of time going into it. If that's too heavy for you right now, this may not be the stream to watch. Maybe a future stream in this series, but maybe not this one, okay? Fourth, and finally, this particular stream is going to deal a lot with childhood trauma, okay? So again, I recognize that these topics are very heavy. I recognize that everyone is in different places with their mental health. So I want to put that out there right ahead of time just to give you a nice, strong, healthy warning. So you don't have to continue on this pathway if you don't want to, okay? So please know that. And do know we do have a resource available for those who are finding themselves just a little bit too shaken up by all of this. We do have a resource in BetterHelp, okay? For those who do have the resources to pay for BetterHelp, please look into it, okay? It's an option that's available to you. The link is there on your screen, all right? And in the description box below. With that said, let's go ahead and get into our review. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. It is so good to have you. Many people have been waiting on this review in particular, and it's going to be a long show. So for those of you who like the long shows, it's going to be a long one, okay? So sit back and get comfortable. The book is called People of the Lie, The Hope for Healing Human Evil by M. Scott Peck, MD. And a few days ago, we did the introduction to the series. Now we are continuing on in chapter 2. So we did start chapter 2 the last time we were together. We are continuing on in chapter 2, picking up with the case of Bobby and his parents. Okay. Also, if you're interested in getting the book, There is a link in the description box down below, and it also helps support the channel if you do purchase the book through that link. So thank you, okay? Tonight's episode, When Childhood Goes Wrong, all right? So let's go ahead and get right into it, okay? So we left off kind of in the middle of chapter 2, right around page 46. Chapter 2 is all about, or titled in the book, Toward a Psychology of Evil. So we're getting ready to pick up with the case of Bobby and his parents, okay? Whew. So for those of you who've already read it, you guys already know what we're getting ready to get into. All right, so let's just jump right in. This particular chapter in chapter 2 reminded me of a video I did called Narcissists Really Don't Get It. And it was the story of a girl that I knew who borrowed, and I put those in quotation marks, someone else's vacuum cleaner without them knowing and put it back, and was particularly pleased with herself for what she had done, not realizing how wrong or foul or messed up what she had done was. Really sincerely not getting it, right? And this is kind of what Bobby's parents remind me of. Now, I do want to say this. There is so much going on with these people, with this particular chapter. I may not capture it all, okay? And if I don't, I'm sorry. I do apologize for that. But I will do my best to try to capture it all. I really did try. But why don't we go ahead and get into a breakdown of Bobby's clueless parents, okay? Parents who probably are very similar to a lot of parents all over the country and world for so many reasons, but we'll get into it. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I see a super chat came in, but I can't display it yet because it hasn't popped. But thank you so much, Ronald, for the super chat. I appreciate your support of this channel. And good evening to you as well. Let's talk about Bobby's clueless parents, okay? So actually, let's back up just a little bit. Sorry. Let's talk about who Bobby is really quick. So Bobby is a 15-year-old who had recently been admitted to a state mental hospital after he had stolen a car and wrecked it, right? So the police basically sent him there for an evaluation. The doctor determined that he was indeed suffering from depression. So he spent the first couple of pages trying to figure out what was going on with Bobby. And turns out that recently Bobby had lost his brother to suicide. Okay. And after that, his grades started slipping. He went into a really bad depression, had become very antisocial, wouldn't really communicate with anybody, things like that. Another way it had been described in the book is he was dazed, apathetic, and hopeless. Okay. So as the psychiatrist started to kind of pry with Bobby, initially Bobby thought of his parents as pretty good parents. He said that his parents were good to him. And for all accounts, all outside looking in, that's what it appeared to be until we find out what gift his parents gave him for Christmas. The gift, and spoiler alert for those who haven't read the book or who are reading it and aren't here yet, spoiler alert, but the gift that Bobby's parents gave him for Christmas was the same gun that his brother used to commit suicide. Oh, you heard me correctly. The gift that his parents gave Bobby for Christmas was the same gun that his brother had used to commit suicide. Okay? I told you that this is going to be a pretty heavy-hitting episode, all right? If you're just joining, we're getting ready to get into some pretty deep and some pretty traumatic topics, okay? So bail out now. This is your opportunity to bail out if you want to, okay? Now, noted among that is Bobby had actually asked for a tennis racket for Christmas, received a gun, and not just any gun, his brother's gun for his Christmas gift. And finally, Bobby's parents describe themselves as hardworking people who go to church every Sunday, pretty standard, good, honest citizens, right? Right. So now that we have ourselves a brief intro on all of this. So the high level summary, Bobby got in trouble for stealing a car, crashing it, ended up in the local state mental hospital, got assessed by a doctor. Doctor discovered that his brother had recently committed suicide and his parents gave him his brother's gun for Christmas. And that's where we are with Bobby. Okay. So now let's talk about Bobby's clueless parents. And please note the hyphen marks, which are meant to indicate that that word isn't necessarily meant to be taken as it's stated, clueless. Because we've had this discussion many times before, whether or not narcissists know what they're doing. But let's kind of evaluate this a little bit. Very cruel. Exactly. I see in the comments. Very, very cruel. So this is just really kind of an evaluation of narcissism in general, not necessarily the book. But first, when the counselor was talking to them, he said, did the school recommend any type of counseling to you guys? And they're like, oh, yeah, they said counseling, but we thought that was for his grades. So they shrugged it off. So they didn't take the suggestion for counseling seriously from the school because they thought it was just for his grades, which they care about, of course. But they didn't take that seriously. They shrugged that off. Then the counselor asked them, do you think Bobby might be in danger in regard to his health and mental state? He didn't ask directly, do you think Bobby will hurt himself? But he said, do you think Bobby might be in danger? They didn't perceive that Bobby himself might be in some sort of danger until the conversation with the therapist. So often we hear stories of people who have made the decision to take their own lives. And what you hear their friends and family say is they were so happy. They were such happy people. They were very happy. I don't understand why they would do this. They were so happy. And I'm of the personal belief that a lot of people who end up taking their own lives have been surrounded by narcissists their whole entire lives, their whole lives. Because how you wouldn't even think something might be wrong after his brother did something like that, and then turn around and give him the same gun that his brother used against himself, and then not thinking that your son is in danger until you talk to the therapist. So a couple of live streams ago, I don't know exactly how I phrased it, but I basically said that if you are this clueless, that makes you a very dangerous person. And we can't have people this dangerous walking around free. If you lack awareness to that degree, in my opinion, you are no longer functional enough to be trusted out in the world because you're not paying attention to a morbid degree. Oh, there's a term for neglect that's so bad. It's like gross neglect or malicious neglect. I can't think of the actual term right now, but there is a term for when your neglect is so bad, you need to go to jail for that. So if anyone can think of that term, that would be great. Okay. So then, as we've stated before, giving the brother's gun as a Christmas gift and not remembering what he asked for. I mean, that alone, like if you're not pure evil, you are again not functional enough to be trusted out in society on your own for you to ever think that that's a good idea. Stop, puppy. For you to ever think that that was a good idea. Like why you wouldn't want to get rid of it, get it out of the house, burn it, throw it away, pawn it off, but you kept it and then gifted it to your son. Not ever stopping to think. Remember how we talk about the different pathways of thought, the thought trees? Narcs don't have thought trees, okay? Because in their mind, as they told the therapist, they thought it was a decent gift because, they don't have a lot of money and, money doesn't grow on trees after all. So what did he say? It says, we couldn't afford to get him a new gun. I don't know why you're picking on us. We gave him the best present that we could. Money doesn't grow on trees, We're just ordinary working people. We could have sold the gun and made money, but we didn't. We kept it so we could give Bobby a good present. So Imagine being Bobby. He's lost his brother and he's living with two parents who think that giving him a gift like that would ever be appropriate. And maybe not necessarily having the vocabulary or verbal acuity to put into words how he feels about all of that. And imagine it may not be this extreme, because I imagine the doctor picked an extreme example for illustration purposes, but imagine the other ways that this plays out in people's lives every day. It may not be your brother's suicide weapon, but what else has been given to you out of such coldness or such callousness or thoughtlessness that it really makes you wonder about the people who gave it to you? Hold, please. It's got to make you wonder, right? And then in our society, we start up with the mental head games and lies that we play on ourselves. And Bobby probably, even though this is not in the book, was probably like, well, at least I got a gift for Christmas this year. Some kids don't get anything for Christmas. And I'm sure they meant well. Maybe they're just trying to keep it in the family. But I'm sure he ran through some level of justification in his head for why in the world these people would do this, right? And so ultimately, the doctor made the recommendation for Bobby to go live with his aunt for a little while, because if they had not agreed for Bobby to go live with his aunt, he was going to refer him to the state, as he should, because it's almost like it's like a quiet scream. It's hard to explain what I'm trying to say. It's evil. That's the whole thing. That's what we're talking about through this whole review series. You've got to be pure evil on some level to ever think that that would be okay. That's like giving somebody a car whose loved one got in a really bad accident, but they were able to repair the car. Loved one passed away as a result of the accident in that car, and then you gift somebody in the family that same car that their loved one passed away in because they fixed it. Like something is way off base, right? And the thing is, like I told you all before, many criminals are hidden. Many criminals are free because, as these people say, they are self-described, hardworking, church-going people. They don't break any laws. They're law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. And that is why I believe we could really talk global, but I have to kind of focus on America a little bit. It's so messed up. We've got so many law-abiding, tax-paying citizens who are actually pure evil at heart and do these kinds of things behind closed doors, but nobody would ever know because they're law-abiding and tax-paying citizens. They go the speed limit or under. So no speeding tickets, no car accidents on record, not even a fender bender. Law-abiding, tax-paying citizens who are busy giving their second son, their oldest son's suicide weapon for a Christmas gift. Do you understand how violence can be inflicted on a person without ever laying a hand on them? So for the no contact crowd who loves to come through my channel and on my videos saying, just go no contact, just go no contact, just go no contact. How could a child like this go no contact had he not been arrested and sent to the state mental hospital? What if he never decided to steal that car? He would still just be living in that particular house, right? So this gets profoundly deep, you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide, which I pulled from chapter 1 because it applies here, and I'm going to show you how. So this came from chapter 1 when we were talking about George. It said George slowly started to realize that his childhood had been more damaging and frightening than he'd like to believe. So in the first review series we did on this book, I posed the question, what truth are you trying to override? And this might be the truth that you're trying to override, that your childhood may have been more damaging and more frightening than you like to believe. So I swapped that out with Bobby and I said, like George, Bobby, oh, sorry, this is actually a sentence from the chapter, page 59. Like George, Bobby was only barely beginning to approach facing the psychological reality of his parents and their treatment of him. I think I read this in this book, I'm pretty sure, and I think it might even be coming up. So I don't want to jump the gun, but let me just see. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and jump the gun. So the thing about these particular concepts is this. When you're a child growing up in a home, that world is normal to you. And you don't start to discover what may be normal or abnormal until you have things to bounce it off of. So I'll just say that. I won't jump too far ahead because we're getting there. But if this is the type of stuff your parents have been on for a while, then it's not abnormal for you to receive a gift like that from them, because they've always been clueless and kind of cold and heartless like that. Like maybe 2 years ago, he got his grandfather's suit that he died in for Christmas. Like, oh, here's the suit your grandpa died in. We had it dry cleaned. You can wear it for your high school graduation. It's like, awesome. Yay, I get to wear the suit my grandfather died in for my high school graduation. Awesome. Because it fits. And that is the simplistic logic that a lot of narcs exercise. Well, it's a good suit. It's been dry cleaned and it fits. What's the problem? Oh, I don't know. My grandfather died in it. That's the problem. Oh, well, son, people die. It's been dry cleaned and it fits. We don't have the money to get you a new suit for high school graduation. Just wear your granddaddy's suit. That's how Okay, let's keep going, okay? So again, what truth is it that you might be trying to actively override on a daily basis? What truth might that be? So this is on page 59 also. Welcome to everybody in the chat. Who really needs the help here? It says, more often than not, as we proceed with the evaluation of the problem, we discover that the source of the problem lies not in the child, but rather in his or her parents, family, school, or society. Okay? So in other words, often people will show up with the child, and he describes it in the book as the identified patient, meaning this is the one they're saying is the patient. But more often than not, they discover that the patient is quite simply a natural response to their environment. So this is on page 60. It says the essential sickness of the situation lay not in his depression, but in the family environment to which his depression was a natural enough response. In other words, of course you would be depressed living under circumstances like that. How could you not be? Your depression is a sign that you are still human, that you still have access to some parts of your humanity. Because if you didn't, we might be kind of worried about you a little bit. But of course you would be depressed living under circumstances such as that. Of course you would be. So I think about this kind of and apply it more broadly. And they say that, people in this country are suffering from depression at sky high rates, anxiety at sky high rates, mental health issues at sky high rates. Well, why do you think that is, darling? Everybody is not born with components that aren't aligned properly, if that makes sense. Some people are just born with natural imbalances that make them more prone to those things. But everybody is not imbalanced. A lot of people are simply responding consciously or unconsciously to the environment that they're in. Of course they would be depressed. Of course. So in this particular circumstance, coming back to the book, Of course, Bobby was depressed when he has parents who will give him a gun that his brother used to take his own life as a Christmas gift. How could you not be anything other than depressed and completely strung out on something? Okay. So now moving on, we're still on page 60. It says, raised without love, children come to believe themselves unlovable without performance. I put the without performance in there. So in the book, it just says, raised without love, children come to believe themselves unlovable. The reason I put without performance in there is because I believe in these circumstances and these types of families, what is taught to children who don't receive unconditional love is conditional love, meaning when you do these certain things, we love you. When you don't do these certain things, we don't love you anymore. So the only way for you to maintain your love with us is for you to do these certain things. So the child takes that out of the house and applies it everywhere. And usually they end up becoming codependent doormats, people pleasers, because somewhere along the lines they learned that as long as I perform in this certain way, I can earn love. But if I ever stop performing in this certain way, I'm no longer worthy or deserving of love. So it's performative love. So they're constantly performing to the expectations of someone or something to earn the love that should be unconditional. So it's something to think about. Okay. Let's move on. This is on page 62. It says, imagine then what it must be like for a naive child who encounters evil in the ones it most loves and upon whom it depends. So this really struck me. This really hit me kind of hard. That first part, imagine then what it must be like for a naive child who encounters evil in the ones it most loves and upon whom it depends. Because I really believe there is a certain purity that comes with children. So when you see, it's almost like, have you ever seen the stories on First 48 or ID Discovery of either the mother or father, but one of the parents turns out to be like a serial killer? And the family is shocked and dismayed and horrified. And usually they're older at that point. But imagine being a small child who comes to find out your mom or dad is a serial killer and what you're supposed to do with that information. What are you supposed to do with that? Because these are the same people who are giving you a home, food, clothing, gifts. I put gifts in quotation marks. So highly dependent upon people who might actually be evil. Imagine the mental contrast and the, what's it called? Cognitive dissonance a child would have to engage in order to continue to live in that home and not completely lose their minds. Right? So a lot of times when we see these young kids out in the streets or young kids going the wrong way at a very early age, it's very easy to judge them and say what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, or you should just go to school, should just do this, and should just do that. But keep in mind, you don't know who those kids are running from. You don't know what those kids were running from. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, I bet you, and I think it was a result of reading this, I'm not sure, but I bet you this is why a lot of young kids end up joining gangs, because at least the gang, is evil right off top. You know who you're dealing with right away. There's no hiding it. You know who they are. You know what they do. You know what they engage in. You know what they're on. And they are just telling you straight up in the beginning what the contract is. You want to get in this gang. This is how you get in. You're not getting out. This is what we need you to do for us. And we'll take care of you. We'll provide you with money, food, clothing, friends. And they do. They make good on their word and probably treat these kids better than they're being treated at home. And I know that sounds crazy to hear me say, but if your gang is providing you a hot meal, some clothes, maybe a clean bed to sleep in, those little robberies you have to do for them every now and then start to not feel so bad anymore when you're living at home with someone who's pure evil. So let's continue on this thought. It said, add to this the fact that evil people refusing to acknowledge their own failures actually desire to project their evil onto others. And it is no wonder that children will misinterpret the process by hating themselves. So I told you guys, we're into some heavy content this evening. I said I'd be doing this. I just wanted to make sure that I keep good on my word. Where did it go? So for those who are just joining or might be midstream, hi, everybody. Welcome to the review series. This is a heavy one tonight, and we are dealing with some heavy topics tonight. We will be dealing with the topic of suicide this evening and the topic of childhood trauma, okay? So if this is not something that you're in a headspace to really deal with right now, I understand. And come back on another series where it's a little bit more lighthearted. But it's not going to be much more lighthearted in a book called People of the Lie, The Hope for Healing Human Evil. But I just want to make sure you guys do know that for anyone who's just popping in, okay? How's everyone doing? Y'all okay in there? All right. Now let's move on to page 63. Narcissism is impossible to treat, okay? I just have to take a stand. I almost put almost impossible in there, as you can see, but narcissism is impossible to treat. And someone agrees with me on page 63, where he says, it is into this category of persons most intensely resistant to psychiatric treatment that the thoroughly evil fall. Let me try that again because I can read. It is into this category of persons most intensely resistant to psychiatric treatment that the thoroughly evil fall. In other words, the people who are very, very resistant to therapy are usually your most evil, thoroughly, through and through. There is no cracking. There's no getting through. The best therapist in the world can't break through. So if we're dealing with people who the best therapists in the world can't reach, the police can't reach them, their family can't reach them, their friends can't reach them, nobody can reach them. Are these people that really need to be roaming freely throughout society is all I'm asking. Can't get through. Psychiatrists run away from them. They can't do anything with them. Okay. On that same thread of narcissism being impossible to treat, page 68 says they do not respond, at least in the short run, to either gentle kindness or any form of spiritual persuasion with which I am familiar. I told you guys these people don't respond to kindness. They don't. They don't. And it's sad when you see the delicate flowers who really think that a gentle tone and a soft voice and a pat on the shoulder can get through to anybody. But you have to understand there are people out there who simply do not respond to kindness. They don't. It's not their language. So you have to get rough with them. Like I said in the last live stream, you have to get rough with them because they don't understand or respond to kindness. When I was a public school teacher, I will say this, my default is kindness. It is. It really is. But I learned that, let me put it to you like this. Anytime I was mean to them, really mean, like from the heart, I couldn't get them to stay away. I'm like, something is really wrong with y'all. And to me, it proves this quote right here. Like I would snap on them. Just go off, right? Class is quiet the rest of the class period because they're scared. And in my mind, I'm like, great. Now they all hate me. Perfect. Awesome. My class hates me for the rest of the school year. It's exactly what I need. Literally couldn't get them to stay away. And I'm thinking in my mind, why are you drawn to me and you're clinging to me like glue now after I ripped your head off the other day? Now you won't go away. And I found the same thing in relationships as well. When I rip their head off, chew on it a little bit and spit it out, oh, it's like they're on their knees. They love it. They love it. So I'm like, you devils and monsters really don't respond to kindness, do you? You demons really do need your head ripped off in order to get some communication through, don't you? That's why in one of my videos, I think it's 5 stages of narc anger. I'm not sure. But I say in that video, if you feel safe and if you're in a safe situation, meet their anger with anger, because quite often these narcissists will back down. I don't know what it is, but when you rip that head off real good, chew on it, spit it out, it's like you make them your servant. It's like they have to fear you. I don't know what it is, but they don't respond to kindness. They don't. So it presents a challenge for people who are naturally kind people, because you find you always have to be nasty with these people, always. So a lot of narcissists who are no longer in my life, who I've moved away from in one way or another, it's because I'm like, I don't want to have to always be this mean, rude, nasty person just to get you to act right. I'm always having to come out of character because you will only respond to harshness, cruelty, meanness. That's all you listen to. That's your language. And it's not that I don't know that language, it's that I don't enjoy speaking it as my first language. It's not my first language. So since I have to speak my second language all the time with you, why don't we just, you and I aren't compatible. You need to go over there and I'm going to go over here. Okay? Because I'm not going to constantly have to check you and rip your head off and get ugly with you just to get you to be kind. That's ridiculous. I have to get ugly to get you to be nice? No. Goodbye. We're out of each other's life. So moving on a little bit, on to page 65, the author starts talking about how when he is in the presence of truly evil people, he's revolted. And there's a strong revulsion that comes up in him. And then he says on 65, evil is revolting because it's dangerous. So in other words, it's supposed to be revolting to you because it is dangerous. And it is. There's a book, I read it somewhere, don't know where, so I can't give credit to the author or the person who thought this up. But essentially, this person said that a fox does not doubt her instincts in the wild. So in other words, when the fox thinks something might be a threat, she operates off of the belief that you might be a threat and runs away. Versus lying to herself and telling herself things like, oh, well, maybe that's a friendly human. That human might be friendly. I'm going to run up to that human and see if it's a friendly human or not. Oh, that looks like a friendly bear. That bear might be a nice bear. There's good bears and bad bears in the world. And that bear might be a good bear. I'm going to go run up to the bear and see if he wants to play. Nope. The fox is like, ooh, human, gotta go. Ooh, bear, gotta go. And it's not to say all humans and all bears are dangerous, but somewhere along the line, she learned that a human could be dangerous to her. A bear could be dangerous to her. So the could be is all she needs. That's all she needs. And she's out. Evil is revolting because it is dangerous. It is. I mean, look at Bobby. His parents gave him a gun for Christmas. And if he were a person who is deeper down the spiral, he might have gone the same way that his brother did. So that was a dangerous thing that they did with him and to him. To give him that was a dangerous thing, considering his mental state, or really ever. This was 1983 though. So the gun conversation wasn't quite what it was back then, or isn't quite what it is now back then. But evil is a dangerous thing. Those of you who have been in entanglements with evil people know that. You might have walked away with your life, but what else did you lose in the process? It's costly. You could swap out the word dangerous with costly. Evil is revolting because it's costly. It's going to cost you something. Even if you walk away with your life, it will ultimately cost you something: time, energy, health, strength, money. It's going to cost you something. Long-term involvements with evil people. So that's why it should be naturally revolting to you. It should be. It should be, but as we were talking about earlier, page 65 and 66, theoretically, if a person becomes evil by being raised in an evil home, its parents would appear so normal to the child as to prevent development of the early warning radar system. Oh, I could do a whole video on this all by itself. I really could. So in other words, you have a child who's born innocent and a blank slate. They live in a household full of evil people. Now, those of us who weren't necessarily raised around evil people, or who didn't grow up with evil normalized, would have a very tough time understanding how anyone wouldn't see that a certain thing is wrong. But you have to understand, to a child, everything is normal. To a child, everything is normal because it's all happening now, versus in retrospect. So a child cannot retrospect. Well, I take that back. I don't know if that's true. But what I'm saying is, children are very much living in the moment, and it's all happening to them right now. As we become adults, our days start to become a little bit more predictable each day. We still don't really know with certainty what will happen from day to day, but we do know with a little bit of certainty what our days are going to kind of look like. A child, everything is new all the time. So they're not really absorbing and reflecting on their lives. Plus, they still don't really know what's normal, quote unquote, or not normal, because this has been their normal for the past 5, 6, 10 years. They don't know any other normal, okay? So the child who's raised in an evil environment, around evil people, mama's evil, dad's evil, cousins, uncles, aunts, brothers and sisters, they're all wicked people. And they do wicked things in front of the child all the time. It's not going to be until the child meets with greater society, who has attempted to neutralize, what is healthy and normal, or normalize what's healthy and normal, where society goes, wow, you're not supposed to be looking at that as a small child. You're a child. You're not supposed to be watching that on TV. And they're like, what do you mean? Me and my mommy and daddy watch this kind of stuff on TV all the time. They're like, no, you're too little. You're too young for that. Hey, you're not supposed to be drinking at 6 years old. You're 6. Hey, you're not supposed to be smoking at 8. You're 8. You see? So again, if the child's early warning radar system has been disabled, though, that's a child you might not ever get back, because you would have to convince that child that the way they grew up was not okay and not normal. And that is a tough thing to do. Now, some people's radar system cannot be disabled. It can't be. And I honestly feel like I'm one of those people. It's never been disabled. So I've always had a strong sense of, hey, that's right, or hey, that's wrong, or hey, that's not fair. I've known that much. I may not have had the words to describe it, but I've always known, hey, that's not right. Hey, that's right. Hey, that's wrong. Hey, that's not fair. Now, in fairness, I don't remember anything from like birth to age 5. So who knows? Maybe my mother and father like taught me how to recognize good and bad things, what's right and wrong. It's very possible they instilled that in me and I just don't remember. But as far as I can recall, my radar system and my early warning radar system has been intact. Now, it can be fooled from time to time, but it can never be disabled. And what I mean by that is like any other radar system, you can cloak it and try to fly underneath it and you might be successful, but as soon as you come back into detection, something goes off like, I don't think this is correct. I don't think this is right. I don't think this is the way this is supposed to be. You know? So I may not catch them every time initially, but I always catch them and rid myself of them quickly. But think about the people whose early warning radar system has been completely disabled. And now they're adults who have no warning system at all because they've been trained their whole life that there's no such thing as bad people, that everybody makes mistakes, that nobody's perfect, that we should forgive, that if someone punches you in your right cheek, you turn to the left cheek and let them punch that one too. This is what we've been trained up to believe we're supposed to do. And what that is a disabling of your early warning radar system. And this is why narcissism and other evils propagate in our society, because a lot of people have their early warning radar systems completely disabled. Okay, so let's keep going. Oh man, this chapter could have me here for a year, y'all. I'm going to do my best to move through because we have quite a few slides to go. But we've talked about this multiple times on this channel. It says there is another reaction that the evil frequently engender in us: confusion. And how many times have we talked about their hatred for clarity? How much narcs hate clarity, how they can't stand clear communication, clear instructions, clear understandings. They can't take it. They can't stand it. The evil love confusion because they are able to operate better in confusion. They're able to go without detection in confusion. You understand? So if you find yourself walking away from someone or something going, what just happened? I'm so confused. Huh? Excuse me. I think I knew what she was talking about, but if you walk away confused, you're probably either dealing with a narcissist or an evil person or both. Because really, life is not that confusing. It can be, but overall, life is not that confusing. And if it is, words and communication and sentences are supposed to be able to walk us back to clarity. We're supposed to be able to find our way back to clarity through the use of words and communication. So when they butcher that up, what do you have left? Vague. Very vague. They love vague. Okay. So, I mean, this could be a great back pocket. If you can't remember anything else, remember this. If I walk away feeling confused, I may have been in the presence of a narcissist or an evil person. May. And I have to say may, because everyone is not necessarily articulate or able to communicate the most clearly. What you're looking for is the people who will try. It's not about having a perfect or large vocabulary. It's about people who will try to work it out and try to talk it out with you, who can't rest until they've resolved it with you. You see? But the people who are running from conversation, or the conversation just leads to more confusion, you're probably dealing with an evil person. Probably. Yes, that is the indicator that something is wrong. Exactly. Big red flag. All right. So moving on, this is page 67. It says, forever fleeting the light of self-exposure and the voice of their own conscience. The light of self-exposure and the voice of their own conscience. They are the most frightened of human beings. I think I made a typo. Hold on. Oh, I just put it in there twice. Whoops. So the actual quote is, forever fleeting the light of self-exposure and the voice of their own conscience, they are the most frightened of human beings. And I told you guys this before. Narcissists are terrified. They live their day-to-day lives in fear. Their inner part is a Jenga tower. And for anyone who's ever played Jenga, you know that after a while, the more blocks you keep moving, the more unstable the tower becomes. They are that unstable tower inside, just ready to tumble over at any moment. So every moment of the day, they live in fear. And then keep in mind that these are also people of the lie. So when you have multiple lies going at the same time, you live in constant fear of those lies being found out. Okay? Constant fear of those lies being found out. So they're afraid all the time. Every time the phone rings, every time there's a knock on the door, they're scared, you see? And I was thinking about this the other day. This is why they don't like to have conversations. It is fleeing. My God, sorry. It's forever fleeing the light of self-exposure and the voice of their own conscience. I guess I was just excited on this slide. I don't know what was going on. Sorry, y'all. Forever fleeing the light of self-exposure. But I guess fleeting worked, which is why I didn't catch it. Forever fleeting the light of self-exposure. Right, because it is always running away from it, or they're running away from it. Whatever. Yes, forever fleeing. But this is why they don't like to have conversations with people. Because it's not that they think you necessarily have something that you want to catch them on. The problem is there's so many things out there to be caught that just a basic conversation can accidentally lead there. Do you understand? Think about like a good conversation you have with a good friend. Think about how y'all go all over the place with topics. Here, there, everywhere, over the river, through the woods, and back with your conversational topics. See, the narcissist can't go over the river and through the woods with you because you might start to find all the bodies that they've hidden along the way. So the best way to keep that from happening accidentally is to just not have conversations at all. Keep them short, keep them sweet, or dominate them. Because then if you're dominating the conversation, you can control it. You understand? If you're dominating the conversation, you get to control what the conversation is about, how long it lasts, the topics. You get to control all of those things. But when you let someone else actually lead and ask you questions and things of that nature, it becomes very, very, very risky to have conversations with people. So this is why they really engage in a lot of the poor communication habits that they have. Okay. All right, let's move on. Oh, well, that went a little faster than I thought. So this is our last slide, and then we'll go into after show. So this is from page 66. It says, the evil are the people of the lie, deceiving others as they also build upon layer of self-deception. Okay, so this is kind of like the theme and the point of the whole book. The evil are the people of the lie, deceiving others as they also build upon layer of self-deception. So in other words, they're lying to other people all the time and lying to themselves all the time. Keep that in mind, that they're constantly having to override the truth and tell themselves lies constantly to keep the truth from bubbling up to the top, which is probably why they don't like to be alone, because it causes them to do this thing called thinking, which is very uncomfortable and they don't like it. And thinking ultimately often leads to the truth about a situation or just the reality. Think about it. Like when you're not thinking about something true, typically you're fantasizing, daydreaming, visualizing. When you're thinking about something that's not true, but otherwise, aren't you always thinking about true things? Think about it, no matter how good or bad. Like in a given day, you might be thinking, dang, I need to go get an oil change. When I'm through with that, I need to run to the grocery store. After that, I think I'm going to come home and clean the house up because it's a mess. Like you're thinking about true things. Does that make sense? The only time you're thinking about untrue things is typically when you're visualizing, daydreaming, fantasizing, whatever. But overall, your mind dwells on the truth, on reality, rather. So if that is the case, can you see why then they have to turn that inner voice off? We were talking about their lack of an inner voice last year. They probably turn it off because your inner voice is going to dwell on real things, which is why a lot of people abuse different drugs to get that inner voice to shut up. Shut up for a little bit. I know. Thank you. I'm very aware of all the bills. Thank you. Didn't need the reminder. Thanks. So a lot of people choose to silence that inner voice to not hear the true things that are constantly bubbling up from the mind, body, and spirit. So they have to override that daily and maybe by the hour. So they're constantly building each layer of self-deception as time goes on, which is why when you confront them to the truth, or confront them with the truth, it is the equivalent of an exorcism. And we're going to get into that coming up soon. I think it might actually be the next chapter. Is it the next chapter? No, it's coming. It's a couple chapters down the road. But essentially, when you confront somebody who has spent their lives lying to other people and building upon the lies that they've told other people and themselves, and you confront them with the truth, you are essentially performing an exorcism, is what you're doing, which is why they meet you with such violent rage and force, because they don't want to be exorcised, because an exorcism requires you facing all of those different truths that you have worked so hard to bury and cover up. Oh, we've got so much to talk about in regard to this book. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Oh yeah, because, and guess what? We're still in chapter 2, actually. So we're going to pick up next time with Evil and Sin that starts on page 69. Okay. So I think the only other thing that, well, let me just read my little side notes here. Give me 1 second. Let me just see if I missed anything. Welcome to everybody. I hope you're enjoying the video and the series so far. Oh man, there's so much. And it's like everything I've written off to the side, it's like related, but not related. Man. I just want to run through this really quick. So this is on page 55. And it was when the therapist was confronting the parents. And the parent was like, oh, we're both working people. And these counseling people, they don't work on weekends. We can't just be taking off from our jobs every day. We've got to make a living, you know. So this reminded me and kind of sounded like when this first started, when we first started putting work over what's most important, because this was the early 80s. So Bobby's a millennial. And this is most of the millennials' experience. That work for our parents was always more important than making sure the child was growing up okay. Let's see here. I noted how when he recommended the aunt, the mother shut it down, Lord. The mother shut down the solution right away. Oh, wow, it's pouring out here. She goes, oh, that just won't work. I just don't think that would work out. So they shut down solutions really, really quickly without even entertaining them, won't even give them a thought. I noted how the mother like had a very elitist attitude regarding her sister. She was like, oh, my sister is so stuck up and she looks down on people, and I don't see why. All she is a little house cleaner. All they do is clean houses. So very snobby, very elitist, kind of stuck up, narcissistic attitude. So it's like, for such hardworking, God-fearing people, you sure are judgmental. Let's see here. I noted how they felt interrogated. On page 56, he goes, look, doctor, I don't know what you're insinuating. You're asking all these questions like you're a policeman or something. We haven't done anything wrong. You don't have a right to take a boy from his parents if that's what you're thinking of. We've worked very hard for that boy. We've been good parents. So like feeling interrogated, even though you're with a therapist, and that's what they do. Therapists ask questions. So defensive, you see the defensiveness coming out. Let's see. Oh, this was major. I'm sorry. I have to spend some time on this. This is on page 57. And it says here, let me change screens so you guys don't get confused. I'll just put it here. We're just wrapping up our thoughts, then we'll go into after show. So it says, the therapist asked, did you think how that present might seem to Bobby? What do you mean? I mean that giving him his brother's suicide weapon was like telling him to walk in his brother's shoes, like telling him to go out and kill himself too. And then the parents responded, we didn't tell him anything of the sort. Oh my God. How many of you all have had an experience with a narcissist where you say something and they go, I didn't say that. I never said that. That's not what I said. It's like their minds are so simple. And I wrote off to the side, no one said you did, jackass. We didn't tell him anything of the sort. Well, of course you didn't. Of course you didn't hand him his brother's gun and say, here, son, we want you to do the same thing that your brother did to himself with this very gun. Here you go. Of course you didn't. It's what's implied. Or what could be interpreted from the act. Is that really such a challenging thing to understand? Really? Like the therapist in the book wanted to run away. He wanted to escape the room from these people. And me too. Like, I just want to throw the book across the room. Like, what is wrong with you? No one said you did. No one said you told him to do that. It's what's implied, darling. I can't. Need to be arrested. Let's see here. And then I thought this was a powerful line on the same page, page 57. He said, the therapist said, perhaps not, but that's what worries me. These things need to be thought of. And narcissists just don't think of things. They just put one foot in front of the other and are completely incapable of thinking in a round circle, thinking outside the box, following different thought pathways to different conclusions. They could never write a very good movie because they wouldn't be able to imagine outcomes. So narcissists can't imagine outcomes. They have a tough time imagining outcomes. So they could never write a very good movie. Never. It would sound like a children's fairy tale and not a very good one either. Let's see. I have so many other thoughts. I feel like I'm doing it a disservice. So we'll pause. We'll stop here. So tonight's review is going to end on page 69. We're going to pick up next time with Evil and Sin, which is still part of chapter 2. And that should take us through the end of chapter 2. Nope. Because after that, you have Narcissism and Will. So I think Narcissism and Will deserves its own stream also. It's not very long though. So I might combine those two. Okay. Whew. So with that, you guys, we are going to go into after show mode. Give me like let me be realistic. Give me 5 minutes. Let me just get a sip of water. Let me refresh really quick and I'll be back and we're going to go through some of your comments. Okay. Thank you all so much for being here. I'll be right back. All right, everybody, I'm back. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I appreciate it. And I came back to a super chat. Thank you, Tamara. I appreciate it. Everybody go check out Tamara's channel. She does tarot readings. Very good readings, too. Thank you, Tamara. I appreciate it. All right. Let's get into you guys' comments and we'll get out of here, okay? All right. Let's see. Good stuff. No, you can't. Unfortunately, it said you can't cure narcissism. And it's like in the book, he describes how people, well, first you have to get them in the therapist chair to begin with, to agree to therapy. But once they get there, it's kind of like all the best training in the world goes out the window when dealing with a person like this. And I've shared with you guys my personal theory that there is going to be a disclosure in the near future, that there are individuals born without some component of the human element and human experience, and how problematic that is. Let's see. Wow. Says my mother is intrinsically evil and possessed, but sits at third pew with my father at Catholic church every single day. She's fired over 7 therapists. 7 therapists, y'all. Hold on, let me fix my pet's water fountain. Sorry. It's making noise. And I don't want that to pick up on the background. So just give me 1 second. And that didn't do it. Okay. Let's try again. Let's see if we can make it stop squealing. Okay. There's one easy way to fix it. Just unplug it. So there's simple solutions in life, truly. I'm back. Sorry. So yeah, 7 therapists. You see? They were probably so happy when they got fired. Let's see here. Oh, absolutely. It says covert narcs will poke you until you snap and then play the victim. Exactly. They're very talented at it. Very good at it. Stop, puppy. Very good at it. Let's see. Yes. And this is so important. This has been one of my biggest takeaways from this book, you guys, is because I think somewhere in the beginning, I must not have highlighted it or I looked over it, or maybe it's coming up, but he essentially says that we're all dealing with some type of evil in us, right? And I'm like, dang, what evil am I dealing with? And the evil that I'm dealing with, I think, is that like I've shared with you guys before, like I try really hard to believe the best in people. So in other words, I lie to myself and sometimes have a tough time just facing reality and saying, no, that person is just what they are, evil or wicked or whatever, fill in the blank. So I say that to say that if there is an evil to be rooted out of you, it might be this, the evil of lying to yourself about different things. Because the sooner you're able to get more realistic and more real about things, the better your life starts to become. So I'll give you a perfect example. I had to be up early the other day and I was like, and I needed gas. And I was like, well, I'll just get up 15 minutes earlier and go get gas. And I thought about it. I thought about it and I said, has that ever really worked out for you? Has that ever actually worked? Getting up a little bit earlier to go get gas? Or do you always end up speeding, flying, running to the gas station, getting $5 worth of gas because you don't have any time because you didn't wake up early, and getting to wherever you're going by the skin of your teeth? Which one is true? And I said, well, self, skin of the teeth is true. So myself said, then why don't you go get gas tonight? And I said, but self, it's kind of late, and is it wise to go get gas this late? And self said, well, you can either go get gas tonight or be late tomorrow. Which one do you want? So I actually opted to go get the gas that night. And you guys, I couldn't believe it because just like clockwork, I woke up right at the last minute, made it out the door at the last minute, got to where I was going at the last minute. But I had gas. So that whole thing started with me being honest with myself about who I am and what I do and have done. When I asked myself the question, has that ever actually worked out for you? No. So why don't you stop lying to yourself and go get gas tonight so you can get where you're going on time in the morning? So that's a very low stakes example, but it's an example. What ways are we lying to ourselves? And as the quote on the screen says, over time we get sick because we lie to ourselves about these people and about the interactions that we're having. Like I think about how many relationships should have ended within weeks, but somebody kept it going due to the lies they were telling themselves about that person. Not necessarily even lies that person was telling. Lies they were telling themselves about that person that prolonged a relationship that should have ended. Let's see. Exactly. I almost did like a video on that, the whole cheapness thing. The quote on the screen says, also, many poor families have love. They don't blame money for everything. Exactly. And then in regard to, when the parents in the book were saying, oh, we don't have money like that. Money doesn't grow on trees, blah, blah, blah. Like, I really struggle with the cheapness issue. And here's why. Because there's a part of me that's strongly against materialism. I like the holidays for the togetherness aspect and the family and friends, but I don't like the expectation of the constant purchasing. But at the same time, you guys, there's something about a gift. I don't know what it is, but there's something about a gift that really shows how a person feels about you. And I know that might not seem fair. And please hear what I'm saying. I'm not saying every gift has to be expensive. I'm not saying every gift has to be exotic and rare and something you flew in from. No, 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 no. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is there's something about a gift that really speaks to how a person feels about you. And when it's a gift that you can tell was just given out of obligation, like, oh crap, it's Christmas, let me just get her something. Oh, it's her birthday, let me just grab something for her. That really does something to a person's mental state over time in regard to how they feel about how you feel about them, and then ultimately how they feel about themselves and what they're worth and what they deserve. You see? So for example, when I say like a gift doesn't have to be expensive, like somebody could give me a gift card to Costco, and I'm telling you, or Walmart, or the grocery store, like things like that send me over the moon. Because what you've considered is my very practical side. So anyone who knows me personally very well should know that I'm a very practical person. That even before the pandemic, if you had given me a 36 pack of toilet paper, oh, honey, you're my friend. I like you. I love you. Thank you. Like, let me tell you what a perfect gift from someone like me is. A perfect gift is a thing of laundry detergent, a pack of toilet paper, some dish soap, some body wash, a thing of lotion. What else? A couple gallons of distilled water. Baby, I'm over the moon. Because the person has considered what a practical human being I am. They're like, she likes nice things, but like if she needs to go grocery shopping, she's going to be thinking about her groceries over some fancy pairs of shoes. So why don't I get her groceries? And now she's so over the moon, maybe she'll be open to the shoes. Whatever. Anyway, let's keep going. Or a gas card. Honey, if you give me a $50 gas card, I'm going to love you close to forever. Pretty close to forever. Let's see. Exactly. It says children have no other frame of reference aside from their family. Exactly. So they don't always know, And then their family might be so narcissistic and know that something is wrong, know they're very dysfunctional, and mock other families who are different from them, but who actually might be more functional. So then what happens is not only does the child grow up internalizing evil and dysfunction, but they also grow up to mock function and mock families that are different from them, not realizing, sugar, you might actually be the problem. You and your family might be the problem, but a narcissist, to insulate themselves from criticism, will mock everyone else and make it seem like their situation is perfect and fine, even though it's actually slowly caving in. Let's see. Yep. Boundaries in the narc's mind is a challenge to tear down. Exactly. Like, oh, I will not be told no. You will not tell me no. And I love being the one to sometimes actually get to tell them no. No. No, honey. The answer is no. Sometimes when salespeople call me and I'm in the particular mood, I'll say to them, I can tell you're getting ready to sell me something, and I'm just letting you know right now the answer is no. So if you want to continue on your speech, you're more than welcome to. I'm happy to listen, but I'm not buying anything, honey. I'm not, you know? And every now and then they'll go, okay, ma'am, well, you have a nice day. Thank you. Like, let's not waste each other's time here, okay? Don't try to tear down my little boundaries. The answer is no. I'm not buying, okay? Let's see here. Welcome to everyone who's in the chat. I appreciate you being here. So here's this comment again. I'm going to display it again. It says, that's the indicator something's wrong. And that's in regard to the confusion quote. So where there is confusion, there is a narcissist, for sure. That should be one of your first red flag indicators. Something is way off. All right. Let's see. Oh, this is a good question. It says, how can you differentiate a brainwashed victim from a willing slave of an evil person? That's a good question. I don't know. I guess, oh man, every answer I keep coming up with keeps canceling itself out. What I was going to say was, if you give them the option to leave and they take it or don't take it, but either one of them wouldn't take it, the brainwashed victim won't take it, and the willing slave won't take it either. But then again, maybe the willing slave might. Because if they're willing, that means they at least know what they're doing. So maybe they have the opportunity to not know. To unknow. What am I trying to say? If they're willing, they know what they're doing. So maybe that means they have the option to stop doing whatever it is they're doing because they know, versus if you're brainwashed, you don't even know you're a victim yet. That would be my best guess. But I don't know, because I think they're both probably so very similar. If you guys hear a lot of panting in the background, my dog has the zoomies, okay? So that's my best guess, my best answer. And your little puppy is very cute too. The little Yorkie. Here we go. Let's see. This dog is on crack. Oh yeah. It says, Narc told me if you can't convince them, confuse them. That's the give them the old razzle dazzle them. They can't see with stardust in their eyes. If you can't amaze them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit. That's what they say, right? And they think it's cute. Oh, it says, if everyone was solutions oriented, things would run smoothly. It's not the case because people of the lie are everywhere. Yes. And kind of on this thread, you all know a lot of what I've discussed on this channel are systems, processes, all that kind of stuff. Part of the reason we're frozen in place right now is because of these people of the lie. Because the thing about it is, for a system to work functionally and smoothly, you really have to examine every piece of it and how each piece relates to the other pieces. But the problem is, in that examination process, you'll start to uncover a lot of decisions or indecisions that were made by people who may have been responsible for that particular piece. In other words, for a lot of these things to actually start working again, you would have to root up and uncover all these lies that the people of the lie have been covering up for decades, right? I hope that makes sense. In other words, we could get this train to go faster, but the conductor is a liar. What do they call them? Not the bellhop. The people who are like greet you on the train door, they lie. The engineers are everyone lying, and everyone's trying to cover up something. Everyone's covering something. So as a result of all this covering, we end up with a system, an end product that's really not that good. But the only way to make it better is to tell the truth at every stage of the process. And there are people in place actively overriding and hiding and suppressing that truth. So things can't improve. There's so many hands in the pot in so many stages of the process. So yes, if people were solutions oriented, things would run smoothly, but it's not the case because these people of the lie are everywhere, covering up and hiding and protecting lies that are sometimes 10 years old. Let's see here. Right. Says Elizabeth, that would totally explain the government failure to negotiate something sensible right now. Right. Because to fix this, I'll put it to you this way. To fix system A means getting him in trouble. To fix system B means getting her in trouble. To fix system C means getting him in trouble. Do you understand? There's someone who's going to get in trouble all along the line. And in order to avoid that trouble, they just lie and spin and cover and blame shift until we have a very C grade product. Instead of us having an A grade product, we end up with a very C grade product, if not D. Let's see here. See, so this would be an example. So I don't know if you like scary movies, and I know parents have different boundaries with their kids at different ages, not judging anyone's parenting, but this would be an example of maybe something you wouldn't do with a small child, and that's take them to see The Exorcist. The comment says, my mom took me to see The Exorcist at 9 years old because my dad wouldn't go with her and she didn't want to go by herself. You see? So is that really something to subject a child to? Like I'm so kind of deviating, but similar. I consider myself very musically diverse and I listen to the adult versions of songs. But if I ever have children, they will not be hearing those versions, at least not in my house, until they're almost 18 years old. And no, I don't want my kids to be lame and I don't want them to be uninformed. But my thing is, like a 3 and 4-year-old doesn't need to hear certain songs. I don't care if they don't know what they're talking about. They don't need to hear that. They're babies. 10 and 12-year-olds don't need to hear certain songs. They're babies. When they start to become more adult, maybe we can start listening to those songs together. But there are some songs I don't even want to listen to with my future kids. I shouldn't even be listening to them, probably. But I do. But my thing is, like, I have a sense of protection over my kids already. Like, well, that's a song they won't be hearing when they're coming up. And that'll be a boundary, a major boundary for me too. Like, you better not be listening to certain songs around my child. Please let me find out you did. Please let me find out you did. But no, you're not allowed to. You're too young. You're a baby. Be a baby. Let's see. Dang. Says, I once told my MPD mother, just cut the bullshit act. I will have more respect for you if you stop pretending. And she replied, I will have more respect for you if you stop pretending. Dang. Whew. I don't even know what to do with that one. Ooh, that's deep. Oh, yes, absolutely. They go from shallow conversations to rage, 0 to 60. So that's the thing about them. They act so calm and then they just click on you like that. Like it doesn't build. It goes from calm, rage, just like that. And it's like, where's all this coming from? Oh, the exorcism that you're trying not to have right now. Let's see. Oh, yes, please do. Thank you, Ronald. You can hit that like button, please. That would be awesome. Thank you, Ronald. Appreciate it. Oh, do you like it? It says, hey, everyone, I highly recommend YouTube Premium. Videos keep playing while you take care of other things. They keep trying to get me to do the trial. But you know why I won't do YouTube Premium? Because I already have a problem. Okay. Like I told you guys, I really like it when my watch later list is about 100 videos long. I love that because it gives me something to do while I do other things. So my fear is that if I'm able to navigate away from YouTube and do other things on my phone, I'll run out of videos to watch too fast. Because basically they'll be playing nonstop just about. So I don't want to run out of content to watch that quickly. So that's why I shy away from it. But God, that would be amazing to just be able to go respond to a text message and YouTube is still going in the background, doesn't pause. But I'm already a YouTube junkie. I have a problem. So I don't want to make the problem worse. All right. Oh, I'm glad you caught it. It says, I just tuned in and was so curious about your take on this part of the book. Very glad you caught it. Oh, we've tried to answer this question before. It says, how are there so many narcissists? Where do they come from? They come from a variety of, well, well, we kind of believe they come from the pits of hell, but that's another conversation for a different channel. I personally believe they've been groomed into existence, meaning they've so successfully silenced people who speak up against them that they blossom and they flourish and they grow like a weed. And it also comes from the fact that we haven't been doing a very good job weeding our garden through these past couple of decades. So it's spiraled out of control. It's glorified. It comes from the fact that we don't cancel narcissists. We allow them to continue on, spread their influence. We never counterbalance them or check them for inaccuracy. We've convinced ourselves that we're the problem. Oh, there's a million reasons. Right? Says PT, you have to talk about how the mother switched it up. Oh, do I remember? Did she get really crazy and then calm down? I can't remember. I can't remember that part. How she did she go from like calm to really snappy? I can't remember. Let's see. And there goes my comments jumping. Here we go. Found it. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yep. I knew it wouldn't make it through. I knew it wouldn't clear the hurdle. And I'm tempted to just turn it on to see. But what happens is this. When YouTube sees that one of your videos did not pass the sniff test, then every video you do after that for like a month, they put under a microscope. Like, well, her last video didn't pass the test. So let's check this next one to make sure she's over here staying on the up and up. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to play with it today. I'm just going to let it go. So I appreciate your super chat for that reason. And anyone else who has donated that I may have missed, thank you as well. I know it would be good to get a follow-up. It says, I wonder what happened to poor Bobby. What became of him? Hopefully he stayed with his aunt until adulthood. I hope so. I really hope so. Like most people joke about this all the time, but I really think it needs to be a thing. You need a license to be a parent. You really do. And in that licensing course, you present them with a case like this and you tweak it a little bit and you say, these parents gave their child a gun for Christmas, the same gun his brother had used to take his own life. What are your thoughts on that? You don't guide them by saying, is this wrong? Yes or no. You don't give multiple choice. You say, what are your thoughts on that? And what you're looking for are the parents who would go, well, it's a perfectly good gun, isn't it? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and mark you off in this category. No empathy, no insight. All right, let's move on to the next question. Like, we need to fish these people out early, but people would call it unethical to deny someone the right to be a parent. But what if that person has no right being a parent? It's like, we don't want to tell people, no, you're not allowed to be a parent, but then we just allow anything to happen to these children. And then we play cleanup crew on the back end. At what point do we start telling people, you are not fit to be a parent? We'll pay you not to get pregnant. It's a perfectly good gun, isn't it? Wow. These are the types of questions we need to be asking. I think close. I think they were concerned whether or not this ran in families or like if it's like something that's biological. I'm starting to get cloudy on the details. But yes, that sounds about right, that they wanted to make sure they weren't the ones who were blamed for it, that it's his biology, not them. Greetings, welcome, and greetings. Yeah, his aunt is a great person, right? Says glad his aunt was able to help him get on the right path and give him the love and nurturing he deserved. Absolutely. What a good person. She probably already knew. She's probably already like, that boy needs to get out of that house. And have you guys noticed that a lot of times over time, narcissists join forces and it's kind of like the husband and wife become like a petty tag team duo. So they're not always at each other's throats. Sometimes they are a united front and they become the pettiest little tag teamiest duo. The petty bunch. Let's see. That was a good one to go to bed on. It says lying messes up your magnetic integrity. Good night, everyone. How are you going to drop the mic on us like that and leave? Nick, come back. It says lying messes up your magnetic integrity. Oh, that resonates with me somewhere. I'm going to be researching that later. I hope there's information out there about that. But it makes sense because it's kind of like, it's like your brain doesn't compute it because your brain knows it's not true. It's like, wait, that's not true. Why are you saying that? Why are we telling ourselves this? It's not true. Like, wait a minute. Hello. Wait, that's not true. Wait, are you stuffing me down? Are you suppressing me right now? It's not true. It's like your brain is fighting so hard for the truth. That's good. Lying messes up your magnetic integrity. Interesting. All right, we are wrapping up here soon, guys. Let's see. It says the gift has to be harvestable with joy and togetherness, where such joy isn't blamable and togetherness isn't tiring. Is this in regard to when we were talking about gift giving and presents? The gift has to be harvestable with joy and togetherness, where such joy isn't blamable and togetherness isn't tiring. Interesting. Right. It's almost like you can tell when a gift is not being given with joy. Like when I get people a gift that I think they'll really like, I cannot wait to give it to them. Waiting to give it to them is torture for me. When I have something I really want somebody to have, and you can tell the difference when it's just like, just get her that. Yeah, that'll work. This'll work. Versus something that they knew you would like and could not wait to give it to you because they were going to see the joy on your face. I'm very touchy about gifts and presents. It's probably because I was born so close to Christmas. So my whole entire life I've been getting cheated in that regard. And I'm not going to lie and say that it doesn't hurt my feelings, because it actually really does, because I wasn't born on Christmas. So they are different days. But it's kind of like you get tired of year after year hearing people say, oh, it's Christmas, I'm broke. Oh, it's Christmas, I'm broke. Oh, it's Christmas, I'm broke. But they low key expect a gift for their birthdays that are like during the summer or whatever. It's touchy, you guys. Let's move on. Maybe I'll reactivate my BetterHelp account. No, you just get tired of being slighted every year. And I've always vowed that if I had a child on or near Christmas Day, that they're getting a birthday party regardless. I don't care if it's on Christmas Day, if we're even still celebrating Christmas by then. But let's just assume that we were. Oh, you're getting a party on Christmas Day. We'll do morning for Christmas, afternoon, and the rest of the day is your birthday. I will not do that to my child. Or to a friend if I meet somebody who's born real close to Christmas, because they get cheated by everybody. Because keep in mind, it's everybody. So it's not just like your parents. It's everybody. Oh, hey, ooh, sorry you were born. Kind of broke. It's Christmas. Oh, hey, kind of broke. It's Christmas. Oh, hey, kind of broke. It's Christmas. So the message you get over the course of your life is you weren't worth saving up for. We knew when your birthday was. Your birthday comes around the same day every year, and you are not worth saving up a little extra money to make sure your birthday is acknowledged. Times like 10 or 12. Aunts, uncles, cousins, friends. Hey, sorry, it's Christmas. Hey, sorry, it's Christmas. Hey, sorry, it's Christmas. Dun, dun, dun. Hey, sorry, it's Christmas. Couldn't get your birthday. Hey. It's time for me to go. When I start making ditties and jingles, it's time for me to go. Let's see here. I'm over it now, though. Kind of. I don't care anymore. Let's see. I treat myself every year now. So the way I finally got over it is to make sure that no matter what, I do something nice for myself every year. And I treat myself very well on my birthday every year, because I finally realized nobody else is going to. So I do. Let's see here. Hey, sorry, it's Christmas. Couldn't get your birthday. All right. We're going to wrap up here shortly. I thank you all for your comments. She said, this is how horrible movies get made. Right. Talking about narcissists trying to write movies. They can't do it. Not very creative people. Part of creativity is anticipating outcomes. So if you can't anticipate outcomes, you're not going to be a very good movie writer. Let's see. Hey, sorry, it's Christmas. Couldn't get your birthday. All right. Okay, you guys. It's been fun. We are going to pick this up again shortly because we're actually still in chapter 2. So we will be picking up on page 69 that starts off with evil and sin. And hopefully we'll finish chapter 2 the next time we're all together. What are my other closing messages? Yes, for those who like to watch the live chat replay, just know it will not be available for about 2 hours until this video uploads to YouTube. And so that puts us Eastern Standard Time around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning to read the comments. Makes me very sad inside, but it is what it is. So they'll be there eventually. They'll be there for you in the morning. You guys, thank you so much. We will pick up our review again very soon. I'm going to go, but I will leave the chat open for just a few minutes for you guys to finish your conversation. And we will meet up again very shortly. Thanks and have a great weekend. Yes. All right. Bye.